Zoom fatigue is setting in with a lot of folks, but Jessica Hill, we are very grateful to have you with us today from Goodwill of Central North Carolina, Goodwill Industries of Central North Carolina, and who I know is Triad Goodwill. Chris Gorham has been such a supporter of the consortium for years. We are incredibly grateful for the work of Goodwill, one of the major nonprofits in the community. And to have you guys with your skill sets presenting for us is such an honor. And we are very, very grateful for that. Just to let you know that this is the beginning of a series. And this series will be running through the end of the month. So if you or your staff need improvement with their technical skills, please feel free to sign up for the upcoming issues. Also to let you know that later on in May, we'll be doing an executive director roundtable on resilience for leaders. Those of us who are in leadership positions in nonprofits have been through it in the last year. And so Kelly Graves from the Kellen Foundation is going to be leading a conversation about how to build resilience in yourself and in your senior staff as we have gone through what we've gone through in the last year. So keep an eye out for that and for the other training events that we have coming up, thanks to Goodwill Industries of Central North Carolina, who I will call Triad Goodwill probably till the day I die. So thank you guys for being with us. And Jess, I'm going to turn it over to you. And we appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. We really do appreciate the opportunity to reach out to the community and get some of these trainings and skills out to you all. So today we will be doing the PowerPoint workshop. It'll be very quick. Of course, you know, PowerPoint is very extensive, and I could talk about PowerPoint for probably 2 days straight with so many features and things that you can do inside of PowerPoint. But again, I am Jessica Hill, and I am the Digital Skills Manager here at Goodwill Industries of Central North Carolina. And I do want to just give you guys just a very brief overview of who we are. I know most people know us as the Goodwill store with all the good thrifting things, but we are a nonprofit charity that has been serving the community since 1963. And we believe that all people, regardless of situation or background, should have access to meaningful employment. So we do, in our mission, we promote the value of work by providing career development services, as well as work opportunities for people with employment needs. So, you know, our stores are what funds our mission, but, you know, of course, if you just know about the store, that's great too. We appreciate you shopping there, but our center on Eugene Street is actually where our workforce development mission takes place. And just to break down, when you do shop at our stores, 85% of every dollar goes back to mission. So that's something we pride ourselves in. We really do believe in workforce development and want to, you know, definitely help out our community and our neighbors in our 5-county territory. So we do serve Alamance, Guilford, Randolph, Rockingham, and Caswell counties. And that is where the funding comes from the store to our mission. Right. And we have our services here. So we have career services, virtual trainings, community events, and special programs. And I won't get too much into those right now. But if at any time you wanted to know more about them, if you were interested in them yourself, or you had someone who was interested, or even an organization, definitely let us know and we can set something up and, you know, talk about how we can assist you there. All right, so that brief intro is done, and we're going to jump right into PowerPoint now. So what I'm going to do, I want to do a lot of screen sharing and showing you exactly what I'm doing. It's very hard to teach PowerPoint or Excel by just having PowerPoint slides, so I'm going to make it as interactive as I can. So what I'm going to do here is exit here. Let's see if I still have my good screen sharing abilities. All right, and I'm going to resume share. And can you guys still see the PowerPoint just minimized now? All right. So we're going to go over a few quick tips and tricks of how to use PowerPoint to make it easier for you when you are trying to create a presentation for personal work or just life in general. And then at the end, I'll go over a few presentation tips. Of course, if at any time you have any questions or need me to do it again, I don't mind it at all. Please ask. You can either say it out loud or throw it in the chat box. I can see both. So one feature of PowerPoint that I absolutely love is the quick access toolbar. So the quick access toolbar lives in the left-hand corner right here. So we're most familiar with it when we want to save a PowerPoint. So you could do a quick save right here without having to go through all of the hassle of file, save as. In my quick access toolbar, I love the undo slide. I make a lot of mistakes when I'm creating anything in PowerPoint, so I use the undo and redo all over again. And I also have the start from beginning. So these are just some of the ones that I like to use, but for you, it may be different. So if you wanted to add more commands to your quick access toolbar, you would just hit this little line with a triangle under it here, and then you would go down here to more commands. Once you open more commands, I think you guys can still see this window that just opened. Just confirm it. There we go. So from here, you can search through popular commands. So these are commands that PowerPoint or Microsoft has seen to be used the most often, or you can just search all commands. And as you can see, the list of commands they're very grand. Some things you would never use, of course, but depending on what you use PowerPoint for, you may want to move, brightness to your quick access toolbar. Some others use, compressing pictures more. I actually use the align objects one more. So what I'm going to do is show you how to add one to my toolbar. So I'm going to choose align objects. There we go. So many. There we go. So align objects. So once you find one that you would like to add to your toolbar, you just do a left click, you go down here to add, and now you've added it to your toolbar. And if at any time you wanted to remove it, of course, you would just select it here, hit remove, and it goes back over to all commands. So I'm going to leave this one on mine because I'm going to use it for the next slide. And now, as you can see, it has been added right here to my toolbar. So like I said, it really depends on what you use PowerPoint for. Some people may never use the align objects. You may use the bring forward, move to the backward, move to the back feature more. It really just depends on how you use it. So if I were you, I would kind of figure out, hey, what do I need up here as a quick tool? I don't want to have to go through insert, slide, font to get to one function. You can just move it straight up there and you don't have to worry about it later. So moving on to the next one, I want to show off that align objects one. So align objects is really essential, especially if you're always moving in shapes and text and things like that, maybe pictures. And the thing I have the most problem with on PowerPoint is getting my pictures aligned. I like for them to be like all in one row with the appropriate space between them. And I'm terrible at doing it by myself. It's always a little lopsided, or there's more room between 1 and 2 than 2 and 3. So the align objects one works great. So to use this tool, all you have to do is click on the first object, and then you're going to hold shift. And while you're holding shift, you're going to select the other objects that you want to align. And once you do that, you come back up here to your quick access toolbar and you choose how you want to align it. So the first way I want to align it, I want to make sure that all of my objects are centered, and I would like them to be all on the same row as the number 1 box. So in order to do that, what I will do is come down to align middle. And when I hit align middle, it moves it there automatically. So I don't have to worry about moving it here and I'm off a centimeter and then I do a presentation and it just bothers me the whole time. So that's a really quick and easy way to do that. And now, as you can see, though it's aligned in the middle, the spacing is off in between. So that bothers me as well. I'm a little OCD when it comes to my objects and pictures. So what I'll do, I still have these selected. I'll come right back up to my quick access toolbar, to align objects, and I will choose that I want to distribute them horizontally. So that means I want them to be equally distributed throughout that line. So once I hit that, it simply just moves it over. And now there's an equal number of space in between all of those objects. So that's just a quick tool right there that I like to use. I use PowerPoint a lot with pictures, and I'm trying to align them properly, and it'll take me all day to try to, figure out the proper way to align it. So that tool is really simple and easy to use. Any questions before I move on?
Oh, Lord.
I got delivery. It says this furniture. I don't know if it's like gas like this.
I'm not sure if that was a question for me. I couldn't quite hear it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So
I'm sorry, excuse me. I do have
Yes.
one question.
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
kind of going along with you. I just pulled up PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And when I pulled up mine, I cannot find a line.
You cannot find a line in the all commands.
Right.
Okay, I can
Or
walk through.
maybe I missed a step, which is fine. I mean, I
No,
finished
it's
the presentation. I went to the triangle.
Mhm,
I went to commands,
mhm.
and I've got everything under the sun, but I don't see a line.
Okay. Do you see popular commands up here?
Let me see. Popular. No, I don't have popular commands. I just have more commands.
Okay, so when you hit more commands, what happens?
Oh, yes, there it is. It says popular commands. Yeah.
So now from popular commands, you would hit that drop down arrow, drop down box, excuse me, and then you'll choose all commands.
All commands.
Mhm.
I'm straight. Okay, keep rolling.
Yeah, no problem. Yep. So from all commands, it can be like very, overwhelming to see all of those. So I would go through popular first just to see. But I think a line lives in all commands. So yep.
I've got it. I'm very familiar with PowerPoint, but these
Yeah.
little extra things here, I'm going to be cooking with gas. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to help you with that. Like, if you miss one step, sometimes you kind of get thrown off and you're like, I don't see it at all. So that happens to me all the time. All right, so now we're going to move to the insert tab. So of course, with PowerPoint is a visual tool. So you're able to insert tables, pictures, shapes, hyperlinks, all those things. So I'm going to show you how to insert a table first. So we go to our insert tab right here. And there's a whole little section, it's very small, but it's to your left where it says tables. And when you hit the arrow down for tables, there are a few different ways you can draw a table. I'll show you my favorite way first. It's really simple. If you know how many columns and rows you need, you can kind of mark them like this. So you can move your arrow over. And then I have a 4x1, I can move it down. Now I have a 4x4. So when I click there, it automatically makes that table for me. It's really the most simple way to do it. And you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, just depending on how big you need that table to be. And of course, with the table, you can change the style. So if you want it to be, with a black header at the top or a blue one, you can change the borders if you like. So you can do it with no borders. You can make all borders like that. You can also change whether or not you need a header row. So for some times we have a table, we don't really need a header row where it has that blue foreshadowing back there. You can kind of take that off in the left-hand side of your screen where it says header row. Take that off and it's just one table. You can put all your information there. Tables also come with effects. So if you wanted to like make it look a little bit more 3D per se, you could use like a bevel effect if you like, and it would kind of make it look a little bit more 3D and textured. Some people like that look. Or if you wanted it to be a little bit thicker, you could kind of change it right here where it says draw borders, and you could change it from like 6 point back to 1/4 of a point. You can't really see it on this one because it is gray and it's kind of blending in with the white, but you can customize that table to look exactly how you want to. So after tables, all right, you can also add pictures, of course. So if you have like a picture that's already in your computer that you want to use, or you just downloaded one, you can insert that very easily. So I'm going to insert this picture right here. And to insert it, I just, of course, double tap it. And now it's here. And the picture is similar to the table, where there are a ton of different effects that you can do on that picture. So with this picture, maybe I want a border around it, for example. So I come down here to picture styles and I can choose a border like this. I can scroll down and have it more rounded. If I want it to look more like phased out in a circle, just depending on what style you're looking for. Of course, you can align it if you need to. You can align it in the center of your presentation, to the top, to the middle, any type of way you want to do it there. You can also change the color. So we can come to adjust here. And when we come to adjust, we can change the color here. If we want it black and white, if we wanted, a different type of look, maybe, that may look cool for some people, depending on what kind of PowerPoint you're creating. But there are different, a ton of different effects that you can do for your pictures here. And of course, you can crop it if you need it. You can make it bigger, just depending on what you need it for. And then shapes. So I use shapes all the time. I probably use shapes the most in PowerPoint. I use shapes for everything. I don't really use the templates that come with PowerPoint. What I do is I take shapes and I make it a template in the way that I want to use it. For example, as you see this blue box right here, this is actually not a template. I created this shape just to use for my own template. So I like to use shapes in that way, but if you ever want to insert a shape, you can come right back up to the Insert tab, go to Shapes, and you can choose any shape you want to create. So maybe for this one, we'll just choose this rectangle here, and it'll bring up this little cross right here that you see, and you have to draw that shape. So you can draw it as big or as small as you like. And once you have that shape, of course, you can customize it to be however you want it to be. So you can change the color. So we can change the color to pink. We can change the outline to yellow. Let's see, we can also change the effects. So the same way we can choose the effects on your table or your picture, you can do the same on a shape as well. So I like to use shapes, especially if I'm like going to make a hyperlink or something, and I'll show you that on the next slide. But that's just some shape effects there. And like I said, of course, you can make it bigger, smaller, and we'll talk about a little bit more of these functions here on a few slides down. But that's how you insert tables, pictures, and shapes. And moving on to the next one here. Do we have any questions about how to insert tables, pictures, or shapes before I move on? All right. So now we're going to talk about inserting smart art. So we're going to go back to our Insert tab, and Smart Art is right here. It's beside Shapes under Illustrations. So Smart Art is really cool because it kind of creates a 3D or dimensional graphic that can show lists, processes, cycles, relationships. I love to use these when I'm like creating a map to like branch things out. So for example, I use the hierarchy one a lot. If you're ever creating like a process or a table and you kind of want to show the progression of something, you could definitely come in and use one of these smart art graphics. So one of my favorites to use is this one right here, which is just an organization chart. So I'll click on that organization chart, I hit OK, and now I have the organization chart here. So I can change the color. Here we go. I can change the color that it is if I want. If I want it to be just the outline, so I can put the text in it, and you can put any type of text you want in it. If the more you write, the smaller the text gets. So it may not be ideal to put like paragraphs in there. I would say more keywords and phrases than anything. And you can always add more boxes if you needed to. So if you wanted to add a shape, you could just add one right here. So I went to the left-hand side of the top hand of my screen and I added a shape there. And then I can do the same and I can write in it as well. So you can make it as big or small as you need it. Then you can also add charts. So most of us are familiar with adding charts in Excel because Excel uses a lot of data and sometimes we want to show percentages, we want to show different relationships of numbers that we have and how much we have on this side and that side to kind of make it more visual for the audience who's watching it. So to add a chart, we go to Insert. Right beside Smart Art, we have Chart. Once we hit Chart, we have a ton of different charts we can choose from. My favorite type of charts to use to show any type of relationship is typically a pie chart because I'm doing it out of 100%. So I'm going to choose a pie chart for this one. And I can actually choose what type of pie chart I want to use. Right here at the top, so I can use a regular pie chart, a 3D, a pie of a pie, a bar of a pie. So it has a lot of options here. I really like the 3D one because it looks a lot more modern. So I'm going to choose the 3D one here and I'm going to hit OK. All right. So when I brought that chart up, it immediately brought up this, what I like to call a baby Excel sheet. So in this baby Excel sheet, I can put any numbers I want to, and it'll show me the relationship between the numbers and the actual labels of the chart. So let's say I wanted to do 10, 20, 30, and 40. Let's say those are the numbers I want to play with. All right. And now those are ready to go there. So, oh, there we go. And sometimes I like to break it out like this because it looks a little bit cooler. And to break it out, I just I click on one of the little triangles and I just drag it out a little bit. So you can make it smaller. If you want to change the color of it, you can. You can also change the heading. Of course, if you're not doing sales, you can change it to whatever you are doing. All right. And that's just one type of chart. Of course, you can use whatever chart makes sense for whatever type of data you're using. And then we have the hyperlink feature. So I love to use the hyperlink feature when I'm using a shape in particular. So before I show you the hyperlink feature, I'm going to add a quick shape. So I'm going to use a shape like this. And I'm actually going to edit some text in the shape. So you see I have the shape here. I'm going to come right back here while I'm on the formatting tab of the shape. And I'm going to come to text box. So when I hit text box, I can write inside of the shape. So let's say I wanted to create like a button that takes you to a hyperlink to another page on the web. So let's say I want to just say click here. And now it looks more like a button. Of course, I can change the effects to make it look a little bit more like a button. I like to do maybe like a bevel shape to make it look a little bit more like a button, but I could click here and nothing would happen. So what I would have to do is I would choose the shape and then I can either do a right click or I can go to the insert tab. So I go to hyperlink and now I can type any type of website I want it to go to. So let's say I wanted it to go to tryatgoodwill.org. I would just type that there. I would hit OK. And just to confirm that that hyperlink has been added, I can click that shape, do a right click, and I can see the properties and it says I can edit the hyperlink. So if I was to open the hyperlink, it would take me directly to tryatgoodwill.org. All right, any questions about maybe smart art, charts, hyperlinks? All right. So moving on to background images. So as you could see on my slide before, let's see if I can move back to it. Slide number 5 here, I actually had a picture in the background here. I love to use like background pictures and kind of fade them out and overlay text on top of them. So if you ever want to do that, it's very simple. So what you do is you come to design, the design tab right here. And of course, with PowerPoint, you can choose between all of these themes that they have. They have their things broken out into all different types of categories, such as business. I think nonprofit is a category as well. Slide decks, things like that. But I like to create my own sometimes. So what you can do to put a picture in the back of yours is you can come to the customize tab right here where it says format. You click there. Oh, I think there's something in the chat. There may be a question. After you click hyperlink, what do we click next? Jasmine, are you asking how do you get to the actual website?
No, just like after you click on the hyperlink button to actually put the link in the slide, and the little box pops up, what do we click next?
Let me go right back to that one. So we were here and we inserted hyperlink. Okay, and can you see the box that says the hyperlink box? That's
Yes, that box pops up.
yes. So if you want it to go to a web page or something, you can choose web page. Typically, it's already preset to choose the first one. And then from there in address, I just put the full address of what website I want it to go to. And then once I put that address, I just hit OK. And it's automatically added to that shape.
Okay, so if we have a link copied, we can just paste it in that spot where it says address, and then it'll be in there.
Yep, so you just paste it, okay, and it'll be in there automatically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. All right, so background images. I'll walk through this one more time, just in case I may have lost someone. So we go back to design as a tab. All right, give me 1 second. All right, design. Of course, you can choose a theme, but if you wanted to add your own picture, you go to format background. So with format background, you have a ton of different options right here on your right-hand side. To add a picture, what you do is you click picture or a text field. From there, you go to file, and it will bring up, whatever type of files you have, and you'll go to your folder with the picture. For this one, I'm going to choose this picture maybe right here. I'll double click there. Just give it a minute. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's in the background. I have a shade there. There we go. So now that picture is in the back right here. I actually had a shape over top of that because I was playing with shapes earlier. So now that picture is back here. You can set the picture as a tile if you want, so it can be centered. That's kind of how I like to do it. And I'll delete this just so you can see it. Delete that text. And now my picture is back here. So it's already transparent. Typically, if you haven't done it before, it won't be transparent at first. So where I went to file, under file and texture, you have transparency. So typically yours will pop up as like the full colored picture. But of course, it's really hard to see some text, when it's all in color like that, it kind of fades in and out. So what you can do is come right back, click on your picture, and you can use the transparency tool right here. And when you slide it over, it dims the picture out a little bit so you can focus more on the words and not the picture per se. I will say, just be careful when you are using the background, the picture as a background. It can be very distracting, especially if it's like a lot of people or a lot's going on in the picture. So just make sure the picture's pretty neutral so it doesn't take away from your presentation and what you're trying to convey. Any questions about background images? All right. So now we're going to move to the forward and backward tool. So I also use this tool a lot as well. So I have a shape here, and let's say I want to add another shape. So we know we go to insert, shapes, We're gonna add a circle maybe. So we draw that circle out. And just for kicks and giggles, let's just change it to a different color. All right. All right, so I have this shape here. And as you can see, when I added this shape, it goes over top of this square. But let's say for whatever reason, I needed it to be the opposite way. Instead of going over top of it, I wanted that, I want the square to actually go over the circle. So what I will have to do is click on this square. Once I click on the square, I'll come up to bring forward. I click that one time. And now that I've brought it forward, it comes over the circle. So this is great for sometimes text. So you can use the forward backward tool for pictures, shapes, text, tables, all of those objects. Just depending on, whatever reason you're, creating the PowerPoint, you may want to put text here. So if you wanted to insert a text box, for example, we'll do insert, we'll come to text box. So once I click text box, I'll just click where I want that information to go. And now I'm typing over the shape. So that's a lot easier. And now if I want to move this back over the square, I click on the circle, I come to format, I click on bring forward, and now that circle goes over the square. So sometimes I like to use this when I'm like creating shapes to, create a template to make it look a little bit more modern or appealing. But it's a really good tool to use. And like I said, it's not just for shapes. You can use it for shapes, pictures, text, any type of objects in PowerPoint. Any questions about the forward or backward tool?
Glad we're recording this because I'm going to have to go back and look again.
Absolutely. And we also have one-on-ones too, Steve. If you need us, just let us know. All right. So moving on to the next slide here. This is actually, I think I say this about everything I say, is my favorite feature in PowerPoint. This is probably top 5 for me. It's the eyedropper tool. So if you've ever had like an image that had a color that you really liked and you just can't find that color, maybe in the color scheme on PowerPoint, you're like, I really want this blue right here, as the blue for this star. Of course, we could go, click on the star, go to colors, let's see, shape fill. We could go to shape fill right here and choose a color. But, all of these blues could be a little bit off. I think it actually shows us recent colors because I did work with it a minute ago. But sometimes it's hard to match that color exactly. So if you want to match this star to the exact color of, let's say, maybe this rug right here, all you have to do is click on that object. Once you click on that object, you'll come to shape fill. So this means you're wanting to fill the shape with some color. So you go to shape fill and we use what we call the eyedropper. So once you click eyedropper, it creates a little eyedropper like this. So wherever my eyedropper is hovering will be the color of that star once I click it. So let's say I really love this color of the rug and I want the star to be the exact color. So I click there and now it's the same exact color. Now, of course, this rug has different variations because of it's darker in some areas and lighter in others. But let's say I wanted to make that star the same color of maybe the border around this picture. So I could do the same thing. I'll go to shape fill, hit that eyedropper again, hover that border, and now it's the same exact color. So I love to use this, especially when I want to match something exactly. Like I said, you could try to do it and find the exact color and create it in PowerPoint, but it takes so long. Why not just use that eyedropper and make it the exact color and you can move on with your PowerPoint. So that's one of my favorite features right there. And again, you can use this eyedropper technique for any object. It can be a shape. It can even be a picture sometimes, like the border around the picture. It can also be the font. So if I wanted this font right here, the same color as these headphones, I can pretty much do the same thing where I hit format, I'll go to text field because it's not a shape, it's text. Do that eyedropper again. And let's say I want it to be the same blue as these headphones. I click there and now it's the same blue as the headphones. Any questions about the eyedropper tool?
This is now my favorite tool.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
Don't you
just
love
don't
it?
know. I've been going and matching. You know how you can go through the matching and move the thing up and down to try to match
Yes.
it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you just saved my life. Thank you.
You are so
I can leave the
welcome.
presentation now. This is it. I'm good.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, this is a lifesaver. Like it's such a small tool, but it makes the world of difference. Like it's like unmatchable to me. Like this is sometimes I'll even give you another trick. I use Word a lot, and sometimes I'll put a picture in Word if I'm printing it out. The thing about Word doesn't have the eyedropper tool. So what I'll do is I'll create the text or whatever in PowerPoint, and then I'll move it over to Word. So that's just a trick for you in case you ever.
Oh, so you would copy it. So you would create it and then what, copy it and then paste it like you do in a document?
So like if it was a
Okay.
shape or something and I needed that shape to be a certain color, I can't do it
Okay.
in Word because it doesn't have the eyedropper.
Got
Yep.
it.
I'll do it in
Thank
PowerPoint
you.
first and I'll move it over.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you can use that tool. Like I said, it's one of my top 5 favorite ones. So I'm glad you feel the same way. All right. Any questions about eyedropper before I move on? All right. So now video and audio. So of course, at times when you're doing presentations, you may need to add some video or an audio file, depending on what you're talking about. So I'm gonna use the video one first. So I'm gonna go to insert, and then I'm gonna come all the way over to the right-hand side to video. And I'm gonna choose video on my PC. Now, of course, you could use an online video. You would have to go, it would take you to like YouTube or something like that in order to find the video. But typically I just download the video to my computer just because it may be a video I created. For example, once we have done this Zoom call, it'll become a video. And if you wanted to insert it into like a PowerPoint, you could. So I'll choose video on my PC. And I'm going to choose this video here that says Founder Story. So I'm going to double click there. And because it's such a large video, it's going to take about a few seconds to upload. Almost there. I think this video is about 10 to 20 minutes long, which is why it's taking so long. And of course, we're not going to play it, but I'm going to show you how to compress it. Almost there. All right. So of course, with this video, we can make it smaller if we need to. You can even put a border around it if you like. So the thing about inserting videos into PowerPoint is that a video takes up a lot of your computer's energy. So for it to play in a PowerPoint, I'll be honest, a PowerPoint itself is a lot of space. So you have a PowerPoint and you have this media data heavy video in it. What we need to do is compress it. So when we compress it, we change it from being 500 megabytes to maybe 100. So in order to do that, you just click on the actual media, you go to File, and in File, what you do is you just scroll down here. I didn't have to scroll, it's actually at the top. So you just hit Compress Media. So now we can choose how we want to compress it. So we can do, the first one is to save space while maintaining the overall audio and video quality. That would be the highest level of compressing it. So it wouldn't take away a ton of the megabytes, but it would take away some. We could do internet quality, which would be, the video would run the same as if you were watching a video over the internet per se. And then we could do low quality, which is when you have very limited space and you need to send it in, maybe you need to send this PowerPoint in an email. And, you know, a lot of times when we're sending an email that has a video in it at all, it'll kick back and say, hey, this is just too big. So you can compress it to low quality if you needed to send it in an email. So right now we see that our media files in this presentation are at 845 megabytes. So that's pretty large. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do compress, and let's say I'm going to send it over an email. So I want to compress it down pretty far. So I'm going to choose low quality. So right here, as you can see, it's compressing down. It says that the initial size here is 844.7 megabytes. So let's see where we end up after it's over. And because we are doing low quality, it's going probably just a little bit slower than it would if it was presentation quality. Almost there, over halfway done. All right, let's see. So we started at 8:44 and we're ending at, let's see. Oh, it says it's not responding. Give me 1 second. Completed. So it saved 702 megabytes. So it compressed it that far. And that was because it was low quality. Now, of course, I will be honest, it may look a little grainy. It may not be the best, you know, view of that video, but now you can send it over the email if you need to. So when we click out of here, now we see that our media files are now from 845 to 143 megabytes, which is from that compression. There we go. So you can always hit compress again and you can do undo and it moves it back to 845. That simple. So you're not stuck once you've compressed it. All right, so that's the video quality there. And sometimes you have audio that you want to add. So if there's audio that you want to add, you go back to insert and you can come all the way back over to the right to the audio tab here. Sometimes you may there we go. Little mouse there. So we can record audio and we can just say presentation, and then we hit that red button there to record, and we're just saying whatever we need to say. So now it's 5 seconds long, we hit okay, and now that audio lives right here. So if at any time in your presentation you wanted to, you know, let people hear the audio, you would just hit play and then they could hear the audio. And the great part about it, you don't have to keep it that dull silver color. Of course, you can always, you know, change the color of that little audio button if you wanted to any color that you wanted to. So I know a lot of people don't really use the audio feature, but you never know, with all the presentations we've been creating over the past year, there may be a need for you to create it. Any questions about video or audio?
Can Caroline use the eyedropper to change the color of the audio button?
You know, I've never used it. I'm pretty sure you can.
You might have to do that.
You probably could try it. I think we can use that eyedropper for pretty much anything. Absolutely. All right, so moving down to the next slide here. So animations, I always tell people that I've been creating PowerPoint since I was probably about like 8 years old, and animations and transitions were my favorite. That nerdy. So I love creating like animations and making them move all types of ways. So you guys may be familiar with animations, but we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into the timing of animations in case you don't know how to do those. So of course, with animations, all you have to do is click on the object that you want to animate, of course, and we can move here to animations tab, and we can decide how we want it to come in. So let's say for the eye, we want it to float in. For the heart, we want it to shape. And then for Greensboro, we would like it to wipe. So the great part about animations is now I can preview what it will look like. So I come right here to the left-hand side, I click on preview, and it shows me how the audience would see it once I created those animations. But let's say, hey, I don't really like how the timing was with that. I would like for it to be a little bit slower. So what I can do here, I can choose the eye. And once I choose the eye, I'm going to come over to timing. So with timing, you can make it come up a little bit slower. It's set on 1 second right now. So let's say we want this slide to be very slow. We can go to maybe 5 seconds, and I'm just clicking the up arrow. I could, of course, just type in 5. For the heart, it's set on 2 seconds. Let's say I want that to be 5 as well. And then for Greensboro, it's set on just a half a second. Let's say we want to bring that to 2. So now when I preview it with the new timing, it should be a lot slower. So let's see. So it's a lot slower now. It's actually very slow. But, you know, for whatever reason, you want to make a dramatic effect, there you go. You can do that with pictures. You can do that with objects, text, pretty much.
Whoop. We lost our presenter.
Where'd she go? She's so good. Hopefully she comes back.
Oh no, maybe her signal dropped her off. She's
Yeah.
come back. Come back. Come back.
We'll give her a minute, I'm sure. I hope she knows that she's dropped off.
Probably. I think she'll notice. So like I said, this has been excellent. So make sure you sign up for the other 3 that we have coming up. So we do this every Thursday. So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I just did a presentation in front of like 41 people at Leadership Greensboro with a PowerPoint presentation, and now I am so embarrassed about it.
I know. I was like, goodness, I've been doing PowerPoints for years. I didn't know half of this stuff. Like,
None of this. And I thought I knew what I was doing. That's awful.
I always use interns. Just tell them what I want.
Oh.
Well, I guess we can give her maybe a minute.
Yeah, we'll give her one more minute. And I will tell you what, guys, we're recording now.
Mhm.
So what we can do maybe is ask if she doesn't get to make it back, we can ask maybe if we can record that last section, that
Mhm.
go over and get it to you so that you have the full presentation. And we can edit out the siren that just went by outside my window.
I think here she is.
Ah, great. We missed you.
Oh, you're muted.
I think my computer is trying to say I've never done this much work ever. I think it's trying to. So sorry about that. All right, let me share my screen. We're close to the end. I only have like 3 more slides to go, so I do apologize. Let's see.
The Zoom monster has gotten us all this year.
I know. All right, can you guys see transitions? Okay. So with transitions, like I said, it works very similar to animations, with timing as well. My favorite transition to use is, which one is it? Transitions. Oh, I'm in animations. There we go. Transitions. I really like, let me see, one is a little bit more dramatic. I think it's like the push, yeah, the push one. So I really like the push one. It kind of just looks a little bit more modern. So as you can see, to preview it, it goes pretty fast, but of course with timing, you can change how fast or slow you want it to go. So we'll move it to 4 and we'll preview it here. And it just makes for a more dramatic effect, just depending on how dramatic you are. But I really like the transitions because it kind of just adds a little bit more flavor to just moving to the next slide. Any questions about animations or transitions? All right. And then here we have outline view. So if you are, creating a PowerPoint and, you're going to present on maybe Zoom or Teams, sometimes if you're like me, I cheat a little bit. I didn't cheat today. I'm very proud of myself, but I use the notes. I use the notes section a lot, and the notes section lives right here. I'm just gonna bring it up a little bit so you can see it. If at any time you're doing a PowerPoint or anything and you're lucky enough to have 2 screens, you can share your presentation full screen on one, and the other screen can actually have your presentation plus your notes. So you can honestly read verbatim if you wanted to and still make it conversational. Sometimes I will say when I first had to do online, I was freaking out. I'm like, I've never done presentations online. How am I going to remember? How am I going to engage with people? So I would put a ton of notes in there and like refer back to them, and no one could see them. So it didn't look like I was like looking at a piece of paper. So of course you can write as many notes as you want down here and use them as reference. Also, you can use comments in PowerPoint here. So let's say, you're working on a PowerPoint and you need to just make a note to yourself to remember to change this once you get some more information. So let's say I don't really want it to say outline view later. I want to make a note to myself to change the title. So I go to insert, I come to the comment section here, and it opens up a box right here on the right-hand side. And I can make a note to myself or comment to myself to change the title, and I hit OK, and now that has been added. So before, I say I'm finished with it, I can go back and check all of my comments, and it'll show me what I want it to do at a later time. You can also change this view to outline view. So with outline view, we go to view, and with outline view, you can kind of see it in this way right here. So it opened it up wider on the left-hand side. Let's move this over so you can see it. So it kind of shows what each slide is about. You can also print it in outline view. So there may be times where you just want to print out your topics so you can refer back to them on paper, especially if you're presenting in person. And you can print it in outline view as well. And what you would be printing is pretty much the words on the left-hand side right here. But it just kind of gives you something to refer back to. And it'll also print your notes with it just to have them. I always say if you're going to use notes in PowerPoint, to try to use them in bullet form, not paragraphs, just so you're not reading verbatim. All right, any questions about the using notes or comments in PowerPoint? I'm going to change it back to normal. All right, so just one more detailed slide here. So I'm actually going to make this one full view for you. So I just have a few presentation tips. So I didn't talk about how to actually create a presentation today. I just assumed that most people knew how to, open PowerPoint, create a presentation and choose a theme and go from there. But when you're creating a presentation, it is important that you simplify and limit the words on each screen. So it can be really tempting to want to put, a lot of words so we can know exactly what we're trying to talk about. But it can be very distracting for the audience. So try to use like keywords and phrases more than actual paragraphs, especially when you're using PowerPoint. Also, use contrasting colors for text and background. So I've identified that lighter text works better on a darker background. So as you can see, the blue here in my PowerPoint is darker than the white. So the white stands out a bit more as the headline for the slide. So you definitely don't want to do it the opposite way because it can be a little bit harder on the eyes. And it can also affect how someone who has a vision impairment is seeing it. So make sure you're using a lighter text on a darker background, just for inclusion for everyone. Also, don't overuse special effects and animations. It can make your presentation look a little elementary or immature in a way, especially if you're doing it for business, and it could kind of affect how people are viewing your presentation. For example, when I was creating those animations and I had my set on 5 seconds of, coming up, people don't have all day. And though it's pretty cool to change, just kind of keep it, within 1 to 2 seconds, even for a dramatic effect. Also, use good quality images that reinforce and complement your message. So it's really important that, you're finding good pictures online, or, you're using good pictures that you're finding on PowerPoint. There's a part of PowerPoint where you can insert pictures that they already have, like good stock photos. If you're going to upload stock photos, I say always choose a PNG over a JPEG, because a PNG is typically less quality than a JPEG is typically less quality than a PNG. A PNG uses more pixels and it looks like the original picture and not like a copy of it. So definitely use good quality pictures, because it can definitely affect how people are viewing your overall presentation. Also, it's important to limit the number of slides. So, try to use as few slides as you can. Of course, you're not going to put a ton of information on it, but you don't want a ton of slides that just say keywords either. See how you can kind of combine it. No one really wants to sit at a presentation that's like 50 slides. If you can take those 50 slides and condense it down to 20, your audience would definitely appreciate it. And it's also important not to read verbatim from the slides. The content on your slides is more for your audience and not you. So you just want to use that so they can reference it as you're talking, but not for you to read it verbatim, and not even for them to read it verbatim. Because if that was the case, you could have, what I like to say, sent it in an email and you wouldn't need the presentation. So those are just a few tips on the actual presentation you are presenting in PowerPoint. Any questions about any of these presentation tips here? All right, well, that's actually all I have for you guys today. I think I took you all the way through the hour. I don't think I've ever presented PowerPoint in an hour, but I would be happy to do a part 2 and dive in deeper to different tabs if needed. You guys just let me know and I would be more than happy to do that.
Jessica, I just got to tell you that I was trying to keep up with my own little PowerPoint over to the side
Were
here.
you?
And I'm flabbergasted by what I did not know and how I could not keep up. And
Oh.
while you had dropped off, I said, where were you like 3 hours ago when I was doing a presentation? Did you?
Oh man. Well, I'm here now. Call me anytime.
We have such a great resource at Goodwill of Central North Carolina. And we are very grateful that y'all are part of the nonprofit consortium. Were there any last minute comments or questions for Jessica before we end for the day? Well, if not, I want to thank you. Yes, thank you. That was awesome. I completely concur.
Thank you.
Be on the lookout for next week, and every day in May, we'll be having this once a week. So we look forward to having you back and share it with your friends. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you soon.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. That was good.